Since it's been confirmed that the Sega Saturn content won't be included in the HD remaster, I thought I'd make a quick video showcasing the additional content that the Saturn version had, as well as a few differences between the two versions, as the additional Saturn content is something that fans have heard about and read about over the years, but many haven't seen it or played it. For those of you that aren't aware of what the Saturn version added, all of the minigames were replaced with new ones. AK had an arena battling minigame where you could win prizes including the silver armor and a darkness rune, neither of which were in the PS1 version of the game. The pirates had an additional scene where they'd kidnap some of the girls you've recruited. Gremio had an added scene towards the end of the game, and there was a pet cat Tamagotchi minigame added. There was also a bunch of smaller changes and alterations to the game. The music that played on the overworld and in your headquarters sounded different from the PlayStation 1 version. Some runes had different visual effects for their spells, and there was a bunch of other minor changes. I'll quickly blast through a few of the small differences between the games before I get into the additional content. I won't show every little change as that would take too long, and most of it is smaller graphical alterations likely due to hardware limitations. Besides, I'm sure most of you are only interested in the new events, content and minigames the Saturn version added. So I'll quickly zip through some of the small changes first. As you saw at the start of the video, the intro movie is different from the PlayStation 1 version. The PSP version used this intro too, and it's what the HD remaster will likely be using. The scene where Tio says farewell to Tyr in his bedroom while he's sleeping is now in full colour instead of being greyed out. And as you can see, the dialogue box has a different appearance. The Saturn version also has a solid colour and the text is bulkier and bolder, while the PlayStation 1 version had a transparent text box and the text was lighter. The character running sprites were removed from the loading screens, and the game also has annoyingly long plain black loading screens whenever you enter a new zone or a battle. The loading times are a lot longer than the PlayStation 1 version, lasting about 7 seconds per loading screen, which you can imagine gets tiresome after a while. 7 seconds to load into a battle, another 7 seconds to load out of a battle, 7 seconds to load into a town, and then another 7 seconds to load out of the town. In battles, the highlighter is now multicolored and enemies have a shrinking effect when they're defeated. While in the PlayStation version, the highlighter is grey and enemies fade out once defeated. Your sprite disappears when you open your inventory on the overworld, and the inventory has a different layout compared to the PlayStation 1 version. The scene where Black is flying you to Magician's Isle is darker and the clouds are thicker, making it more difficult to see. While in the PlayStation version there is more of an emphasis on black than there is on the clouds. The reflection of the mosaic in Leknath's tower is more defined in the Saturn version. It is also being moved down for some reason. When Luke teleports you back to the beach, he's using lightning magic instead of wind magic, which is quite odd. I'm not really sure why this change was made. I don't know if this was a hardware limitation or just a change for the sake of a change. Chests at the beginning of the game are blue, but a little later in the game, once you reach your castle, they turn a brownish colour. I'm not really sure what the reason for this inconsistency is. The Soul Eater has a different appearance. It has more of a redder colour compared to the PlayStation 1 version. Some of the spells have different visual effects. I'm not going to show every little change in the rune animations, but the Saturn animations generally look worse due to hardware limitations. I'll show some comparisons. Ladon's T turns your character's faces blue. Some of the music in the game sounds different compared to the PlayStation version. Both the overworld theme and the headquarters theme sound crisper and cleaner. I won't cover the rest of the small changes, they're all minor changes due to hardware limitations. Now onto the additional content. This is what you're really here to see. The Saturn version of the game added a pet cat that Tyr can adopt. You can find the cat in Kuon. It's a random event that can happen after defeating Tio. Much like recruiting Clive, you just have to keep exiting and entering the town until the event triggers. The cat doesn't have an actual sprite, but instead is hiding in some boxes. Once you enter Kuon, you interact with the boxes and there's a chance you'll hear meowing. If you do hear a meow, you can adopt the cat. Once you do, the cat shows up in Tyr's bedroom, but again, not as an actual sprite. It stays hidden in the boxes in your room, and if you interact with the boxes, you get this weird Tamagotchi-style minigame where you feed and play with the cat to level it up. You also, for some inexplicable reason, have the option of hitting it. I have no idea what this option does, and I have no interest in finding out. There doesn't seem to be any purpose to leveling up the cat, it just kind of exists and does nothing, much like real-life Tamagotchis. Also, if you adopt the cat, an elevator appears in the wall of your bedroom. I'm not really sure what causes this to happen. The pirates Angie, Kanak and Leonardo have an extra scene where they kidnap two of the women that you've recruited and you have to go and rescue them. Apple, Esmeralda, Lorelei, Lot, Meg, Mina, Onal, Sarah and Valeria are the kidnappable characters. To trigger the event, you first have to go to their base and talk to Angie. Then when you return to your castle, Sanchez will inform you of a kidnapping. Then there's a small meeting in the war room, which is summed up with them discussing that Yamko was taking the two ladies to Kaku by boat when they were attacked and outnumbered by pirates. The pirates took the two women and left Yamko with a message that they want a ransom of 500,000 poch. Matthew said that they can't spare any men to go and rescue them, so Tyr will have to go and handle it discreetly. Angie blames Sonia for them having to resort to kidnapping people and holding them for ransom. So each kidnapped character has different dialogue with the pirates. Mina will dance for them and then ask if she can go. Lot will offer to join them if they help her find her cat. Onal annoys them with gossip. Sarah is very bossy and demands that they all remove their clothes so she can wash them as their clothes are dirty. Valeria curses them to the heavens. Meg gets annoyed because they confuse Meg's gadgets or mechanisms as toys and they start playing with them. Lorelei is fairly quiet, she just says that she's biding her time and the pirates say she gave them a hell of a fight. Esmeralda talks about the place being dirty and she wants tea. And Apple lectures them for not treating people properly. If you want full translations of the scenes, Raw Lecluse has them fully translated in a thread over on the Suikosource forums. I'll link to it in the description below. Most of the scenes are on the funny side and they highlight the characters' personalities. When you show up at their base, you can choose to either pay the ransom or fight them. Once you beat them, they release the two women, then when you talk to them with both Taiho and Yamko in your party, you can recruit them. I actually reloaded my save file close to 30 times for this video because the Meg event would just not trigger. Apple, Onal and Sarah were by far the most kidnapped, with at least one of those three being kidnapped almost every single time. Mina, Valeria, Lorelei and Esmeralda all got kidnapped several times each. Lot only got kidnapped twice, while Meg only got kidnapped once. I don't know what determines who is chosen or if it's completely random which two of the 9 are selected, but I definitely had bad luck while getting certain characters to appear in this event. Marco's cup game is now a game of heads or tails instead of guess which cup has the coin in it. So you no longer guess which cup has the coin, but instead there's a coin under each of the 3 cups, and you have to guess whether each coin is heads or tails. If you guess none of them correctly, you lose. If you only guess 1 correctly, you lose. If you guess 2 correctly, you win, and if you guess 3 correctly, you win double. So you see there, I guessed 2 correctly, so I'll win 1,000 potch. This time I'll bet 10,000, you'll see it spins a lot faster. It doesn't give you as much time to check. So I will go heads, tails, tails. I might be wrong. I got 2 correct, so I win 10,000 potch. It's a fun game. I do enjoy it, but it's not as easy as his kind game from the PlayStation 1 version. If I do 100, you'll see it spins a lot slower. Gives you a better chance to see, but it's pretty difficult at times. I'm probably wrong. I was wrong on all 3, so I lose. It can't be exploited the same way that the PlayStation 1 version of the game can, because it's random every single time and there's no patterns. There isn't really a whole lot to say or show about it. It's just a variation of heads or tails. Like I said, I think it's fun. There I was wrong on all of them again. I think it's fun, but it's not as easy to win money compared to the cup game that Marco has in the PlayStation 1 version. As for George's card game, that has been changed as well. In the PlayStation 1 version of the game, you played a game of concentration with George's, where all of the cards were face down and you flipped over 2 cards at a time to match pairs. In the Saturn version, he has a game of blackjack. It's pretty straightforward stuff. So what he's explaining here are the rules to the game. Jacks, queens, and kings are worth 10. An ace is worth 11. If you go over 21, your score starts again at 1. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward stuff. It's blackjack. It's a game of 21. Whoever gets the score closest to 21 wins the game. So you see here I got a 10 and 9, so my score is 19. So I can either choose to draw another card, which would be very risky, as anything higher than a 2 is going to put me over 21 and my score is going to start again from 1. So since I'm at 19, I'll hold. You see there, he drew way too much, so I won. I'll play again. I'll bet 10,000 again. So I have a score of 16 here. A king is worth 10 and pawn is worth 6. So I can draw another card, but anything higher than a 5. There, I got a 5, so I scored 21, which means I win triple. I'll bet 10,000 again. So now I have a score of 13. So obviously I want to... Oh, now I'm on 16. This one is risky. So I'm on 18. I got lucky, so I'm going to hold. And I win again because he went way over 21. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say, to be honest. It's blackjack. Who doesn't know what blackjack is? It's a classic. It's straightforward. But it does make me want a deck of Suikoden themed playing cards. There's an item for the Konami shop. I'll do one more round, 10,000, because, you know, it's fun. So I got a score of 20. Immediately I win. I think it's way more fun than his game of concentration from the PlayStation 1 version. But like I said, it's blackjack, it's straightforward. What's not to like? And now it's everybody's favorite minigame. Gaspar's Chinchurorine dice game has been replaced by a new dice game that requires you to guess the total sum of the dice. So instead of both players taking turns rolling the dice and trying to get a higher score, only you roll the dice in this minigame. There's no 1, 2, 3s, 1, 1, 1s, 4, 5, 6s, or 3 of a kinds for winning or losing, double or triple. There's no storms, none of that matters. In this minigame, you guess the sum of the 3 dice and then you roll your dice to try and match your guess. So you'll see somewhat of a confusing screen here with all of these numbers. It's actually fairly straightforward. So the first option you see at the top is 3, with an arrow pointing to an X followed by 216. This basically means that you're guessing that you'll roll a 3, and if your guess is correct, you'll win 216 times your bet. So if I guess 3, then I bet 1000 potch. If I then rolled 3 ones, I'd win 216,000 potch. And you can see for 18 at the bottom, it's the same with 216 times your bet. So if I guess 18 and then I roll 200... Sorry, if I guess 18 and then I roll 3 sixes, I'll win 216 times my bet. Then you have 4 to 5 and 16 to 17. So if I select 4 to 5 and I roll 2 ones and a 2, or 2 twos and a 1, or a 3 and 2 ones, I'd win 24 times my bet. Or if I guessed 16 to 17 and then I rolled 2 sixes and a 5, or 2 fives and a 6, I'd win 24 times my bet. Now you might be tempted to go for the high 24 or 216 time prizes, but the odds of rolling those are actually incredibly low. And then you can see in the middle you have 6 to 8 and 13 to 15 with 5 times your bet, while the prize in the center for 9 to 12 is 2 times. You win less, but these are generally the safer bets to place. Basically, if the sum total of my 3 dice amounts to a number within the guess that I made, I win the corresponding prize. So I'll start with 9 to 12, which is going to be a safe bet, and you know, I'll bet 1,000. And now I'll roll my dice. So I rolled 2 fives and a 2, which means I scored 12. That 12 fit within my bet, so I win. Basically, if I rolled anything lower than a 9 or higher than a 12, I would have lost. So when I picked 9 to 12, the sum total of my dice needed to add up to either 9, 10, 11 or 12 for me to win. And just like with Chinchurarine, you can carry over your winnings. So this time I'll go 13 to 15, which is going to be much harder to roll. So you see, I only rolled a 9, so I lose. I actually used to hate this the first time I played the Saturn version, but it had nothing to do with the minigame itself, and it had more to do with the fact that I loved Chinchurarine. You know what, I'll go 16 to 17, I'll bet the max amount. But you know, while I've been replaying this to record footage for it, or replaying the Saturn version to record footage for it, this minigame has really grown on me and I've been having a lot more fun with it. It's not as fun as Chinchurarine, but it's still a fun game. So I lost that time, I chose 16 to 17, I rolled, what, 7. So I'll do another one, I'll go 6 to 8 this time. I'll bet the max amount. And I rolled 10, so again, I lose. So you see, it's a lot more difficult than Chinchurarine, but it's fun in its own way. So I'll bet 9,000 this time, and let's see how I do. So I rolled 12, which means I lost because I chose 13 to 15. So you can see the odds of winning are... they're not really as high as they were in Chinchurarine. And now for the big one that was added. AK on the roof of the castle has an arena mode, where you can win prizes like equipment and runes. You can win either the silver armor or darkness rune as a prize for completing the final round. So those items actually weren't in the PlayStation 1 version of the game. Apparently, the story behind it is that Murayama himself suggested that the armor and rune be added as prizes, as he was planning to include them in Suikoden 2. So the three choices here: the first option is choosing your character, second option is asking for an explanation of the arena, and the third option is to quit. So you can select any character that's currently in your party. So if I had Flick, Victor, Luke, Crowley, whoever in my party, they would appear here in the list of selectable characters. Whichever character you select is the character you'll use for every round. And instant death spells won't do anything, which makes the Soul Eater pretty much useless except for the Judgment spell. Your characters don't heal in between rounds, by the way, so make sure that whatever character you plan on bringing has been leveled and geared accordingly. And make sure to bring some healing items. You're going to need some mega medicines. Whoever you're going to use, I would recommend bringing someone good with both physical and magical stats like Tyr. Because the last rounds can be tricky depending on your level. The reason I picked Tyr, or the reason I'm using Tyr, is because I have 9 water rune pieces equipped on him, so that makes healing a lot easier in the later rounds. It helps greatly. So as you see, round 1 is pretty simple stuff. It does get progressively more difficult as you go on, as the enemies get higher and higher level. So that's round 1 complete. I believe the prize for round 1 is a Crimson Cape. So now the first option is to accept the prize and leave the arena. And the second option is to forgo the prize and continue on to the next round. So round 2 is fairly simple as well. You start off against the Devil Shield, I believe. Might take 2 hits unless I got a crit, which I got a crit. I'm debating whether or not I want to show every single fight or just kind of fast forward through it all, but you know what? A lot of you haven't seen the arena mode before, so I'll show off the entire thing. I may not have much to say about it, as it's pretty simple. Now, I started the arena at level 56. It doesn't show it in between rounds, but you do actually gain experience for each fight. So I started at 56, and when I get out of the arena, I'll probably jump to about level 65 to 70. So that was round 2 complete. The prize for round 2 is either a Rage Rune or Power Gloves. It chooses your prize at random. So I'm going to forgo the prize and advance to round 3. Again, round 3 is fairly simple. A Nightmare, simple stuff. Then I think it's a Sorcerer and a Banshee. Most of them you'll kill in one hit until the later rounds. Although if you'd done this arena mode a bit earlier, it would be a great source of leveling your characters. I think this is where we encounter our first boss battle in round 3. I believe it's a... is it a Gigantes or a Gigantes? The enemy you fought in the Dwarven Vault. I believe that's next. Yeah, he's pretty simple. You should out-heal the damage he does. I think it takes 4, maybe 5 turns to kill him. or 6. So I think the prize for this is a master robe. So again, we're going to forgo the prize and advance to round 4. Funnily enough, the toughest enemy you'll face in round 4 is actually the Hell Unicorn. I say funnily enough because the Hell Unicorn is actually stronger than the boss enemy you fight in this round. If I remember correctly, the boss is the dragon that you fought in Panu Yakuta Castle. This guy hits like a truck, but he should drop in about 2 hits. Don't worry about the damage you're taking here because the dragon enemy is actually quite easy. And you will out-heal all of his damage. He's a bit of a HP sponge, but don't worry too much about it. Like I said, he's no threat, and with the water rune pieces, you'll out-heal him. As I said, I'm doing this at level 56. It is possible to beat this arena around level 40, about the mid-40s, but doing so you'll be using a lot of mega medicines, even if you do have 9 water rune pieces. And I think the prize for round 4 is a horned helmet, which is not very useful, to be honest. The rage rune being a prize in round 2 is probably one of the more useful prizes you can win for doing the arena. A bit of a HP sponge, but like I said, he's no threat whatsoever. That is round 4 complete. So now we are on to round 5. Again, because of my level, it's going to be simple enough. I might have to use 1, maybe 2 mega medicines in this round, as the final enemy you face is, I think, a Magus, who has a very annoyingly strong spell that she'll use on you. So you might have to use a mega medicine or 2. Clay Doll is not really a problem to fight. Siren, again, simple enough. I believe the Magus is next. That's the spell. That one can hurt. There we go. Simple enough. I got lucky. Didn't need to use the medicine. Now on to round 6. Well, before round 6, the prize for round 5 is a windspun armor, which many of you may recognize from the PlayStation 1 version, where you can give it to Humphrey and it carries over into Suikoden 2. Sorry, round 6. This one is annoying because you will be using quite a few mega medicines. You'll be using them semi-frequently. It's not overly difficult. The enemies just hit hard. 186. The water rune pieces will only help so much. So every 3 to 4 turns, you're just gonna have to tough it out, and every 3 to 4 turns use a Mega Medicine. Now we use our first Mega Medicine. You see I brought 12 of them, which is more than enough. Ideally, you want to get lucky with a few crits, which I just did there. This one can hurt. His fire attack does a decent amount of damage, about 150 or so. His physical attack, on the other hand, is very, very iffy. It can do a lot of damage if it hits you, but there's a good chance you can dodge it as well. Unfortunately, my character ain't dodging shit right now, and I'm taking a lot of damage. So we're going to have to be using a lot of Mega Medicines. Now, I do have my Judgment spell. If you're having trouble here, you could use Judgment to make the fight easier, but I'm saving Judgment for the last fight. I'm going to use another Mega Medicine right now, because I will not be able to take a physical attack if he uses it. Luckily I dodged. But a few more physical attacks should do the trick here. And now we only have one more enemy to go, which is the Crystal Core. And this is actually a simple fight. He hits hard enough, but it's not really enough to be a threat. The zombie dragon is actually a harder fight than this. This guy, he just has a lot of HP. And the fight actually gets easier as it goes on. I'll use Judgment now. The second phase of the Crystal Core fight is actually easier because it's weaker than the first phase. I'll use Judgment again. And now back to basic attacks. The fight is a bit of a slog because he is a HP sponge, but like I said, don't worry too much about it. He's not really a threat of any kind. And now we're into the easy phase. We should start out healing its damage. Should, but he keeps using the same annoying strong attack he has. Making me eat my words because I'm recording. But it is simple enough. It'll only take probably 4 or 5 more hits. Maybe I'll have to use one more Mega Medicine. But probably not. So you can imagine how difficult doing this arena would be without being maxed out on water rune pieces. Is that 45 health per turn that you're healing in the long run is an absolute lifesaver. take one more hit and then I'll use a Mega Medicine, but I might get lucky and that might do it. Nope. So I'm going to use one more Mega Medicine here. Not the most exciting fight, but we're almost there. When you win this round, you'll get either... So there, fight's over. When you win this round, you'll be given either a darkness rune or silver armor. It's chosen at random. So if you don't get the one you wanted, you're going to have to do it again. And I think that's the darkness rune. I think... And that should have jumped me up to... I'm going to say in the mid-60s. Now my character is level 67. Nope, that's the silver armor. My bad. So we got the silver armor for that one, which I believe Tyr cannot equip. Or can he? Oh, he can. He can equip it. That is going to be a lifesaver. So what I'm going to do now off recording is, because I want to show off the darkness rune, I am going to go heal up and I'm going to do another run of the arena. So I got the darkness rune. I'm going to show it off here. I have it equipped on Lot. So it's more or less the same as the Soul Eater. It has 4 spells here. It's got Fingertips, or Deadly Fingertips as the first spell, which is the same as the first spell for the Soul Eater. The second spell is called Stealer of Souls, and it damages one enemy, the same as it does in Suikoden 2. The third spell is Black Shadow, which is the Soul Eater's second spell. And the fourth spell is Hell, which is the Soul Eater's third spell. So I'll show off Stealer of Souls. Not the strongest of spells, as you can see. So I'll use Deadly Fingertips just so you can see some of the differences, or I suppose the different animations. And finally, the last major addition to the game, and I saved this one until the end because of potential spoilers. If you haven't played Suikoden 1 yet, please stop watching the video now, as this final Saturn edition contains major spoilers for Suikoden 1 event. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're still watching and you get spoiled, that's your own fault. So during the scene where Leknot brings Gremio back to life, you get an additional scene where you control Gremio as he wanders around chasing after MacDull in what appears to be an afterlife of some kind, as he's reliving some of his memories with Tyr. You can't enter any buildings or talk to any NPCs. It starts by him recognizing he's in Ante. He spots Tyr and then chases after him. The scene changes to Sega Village, where Gremio would remember the time that he came here with Tyr and the difficulty they had convincing Matthew to help them. Gremio would find Tyr by the lake, and Tyr would run off again, and Gremio chases after him. The scene then changes to the rebel hideout under Lenin Camp, where he remembers what happened to Odessa, and he wonders what kind of man Tyr would become if he hadn't met her. The scene then changes to Gregminster as we relive early moments of the game in the MacDull household. Moments of Gremio's happy memories where he's preparing meals for everyone, enjoying dinner together. If you want a more detailed translation of the dialogue from these scenes, head over to Suikosource. I'll have a link to it in the description below. If you guys want to see some more of the minigames, I'll upload like a short 5-minute video of just raw footage of each of the minigames without me yapping over it. Anyway, that's it for the differences between the Saturn and PlayStation versions of Suikoden 1. Thanks for watching guys, and I'll catch you on the next video.